being recorded.
Good morning. It's the April 7th meeting of the Audit Committee. Mr. Chair, if I may call the roll.
Yeah.
Chairman Krasansky.
Yeah, I'm here.
Mr. Corcoran. Oh, he was just there. Mr. Marquis.
I am here.
All right.
There he is.
And
Thumbs up.
there he is. All right. He is back. Mr. Zurofsky cannot be with us. Form of the Audit Committee.
Great. So first order of business, approval of the draft minutes from December 9, 2021 Audit Committee meeting. Anybody want to make a motion or just first make a motion? We'll do a vote.
I'll make
a motion.
Great.
And we'll second it.
I'll second.
Terrific. Any discussion, corrections? Hearing none. Let's vote for approval. All in favor of approving the minutes from December 9, 2021? Aye. Thank you. We have a presentation. By KPMG. Francis, is a question.
No.
Oh, he voted yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
No, I was just saying aye.
Great. KPMG, Jeff Mabb and Marty Dunbar. They're going to just talk about their plan for the, for the fiscal year that we're in. That just ended. Right.
Time flies.
Exactly. So we want to hear from them the overview of. They have a presentation to go through, and so take it away, Jeff and Marty.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Jeff, I don't know if you want to share your screen and present our presentation or share our presentation. So we're excited to be here and start another audit of the Environmental Facilities Corporation. The nice thing about our audits, as everyone probably recalls, they start during the dreary weather here of the spring, and by the time it's all said and done and reconvene with you, it's usually 80 degrees and sunny and we're all ready for summer. So that's probably one really good reason to look forward to us coming out each year to do our financial statement audit. So if not for that reason, at the very least, it's nice to see all of you as well. So we have our presentation here. A lot of the content does probably appear similar to many of you versus what we would have shared in the past, because in many respects, the scope of our procedures and changes, our scope of our procedures are similar, and there aren't a lot of changes versus the last year or two, in terms of new accounting standards, things of that nature, not too much change. So hopefully this shouldn't be too difficult to get through. So starting off first, executive summary, highlighting some of the more important matters or items that are on tap this year. So first off, logistics. We would be missing something if we didn't take the time to point out where we are. Here making our way now. This is our third audit in the sort of the post-pandemic or COVID world that we've been dealing with. We as a firm are still, I think that what we've really embraced is more of a hybrid work environment, which tends to be the case for many of our clients as well. And so what that typically means is that we will continue to work in what I would describe as a remote fashion, but as teams, we do get together in our office, KPMG, a bit more than we were obviously for the last couple of years. And then that also includes getting together with our audit clients while we're conducting our audit. So while we might not take up residence in the boardrooms or conference rooms as we have in the past as a team or sitting on site, but coming out for meetings, status updates, those sorts of things through the course of our time during the audit. is something that we are doing more frequently now across all of our audit clients, versus what we really hadn't done any of that in-person interaction over the last 2 years. So that's exciting to finally be turning the corner a bit, but still have that that sort of hybrid model where teams are working remotely. Many instances in our office, but as I said, most cases in a remote setting. Therefore, as always, we'll continue to use all the tools, Teams, WebEx, et cetera, to make sure that we're connecting to our clients. And I think what has really come out of all of this over the last 2 years is that there's been a bit more standardization in terms of check-in meetings, standard updates. Some of the the habits of when you're on site, that you have, you can just walk down the hall and check in with someone once in a while. Now it's become a bit more standardized and more formal check-in meetings, which I think actually helps in some respects when it comes to project management and making sure that, if there's any issues, they're elevated earlier and more timely, et cetera. So that's a little bit of an update from a logistical standpoint. Again, we don't expect any issues, as it relates to the conduct of our audit and the actual execution of our procedures, et cetera. The other item that's kind of new this year, or something that we've mentioned, but now it's really truly effective, is we're going to be utilizing our new Audit Platform, our new application for that we execute and document all of our audit procedures through. It's called Clara, KPMG Clara. I'm not sure how we came up with that name many moons ago that we started putting this together, I think 5 years ago or so. But it's a cloud-based integrated application. I think the thing that we're really excited about, and we've implemented it now for a lot of our SEC registrants and our December 31 year-end private and government entities, as well as now it's rolling to the 331s, EFC included. What's really exciting is that it's has the ability to take in larger volume of data, analyze information better to make a lot of our audit procedures a bit more intelligent. So, because it's in a cloud environment, the ability to update the tool in a more real-time basis, as we move forward is really one of the big enhancements, in addition to as teams having, not only better tools, but also access to industry information. When a regulator tells us that we need to execute a procedure a little bit differently, that can be updated and disseminated across all the teams in a particular industry, or if it covers multiple industries, it could be shared more real time, as opposed to the way it used to be for our old application. It was sort of an annual update, and then you'd have to have workarounds to make sure that we're getting our procedures done properly and documented properly. This tool will significantly enhance our capabilities from that perspective, and it's the kind of thing that will be evolving here over the next several years. So we're very excited. We've already started putting the tool together with the number of the projects that we do across New York State here, near both public benefit corporations and the state itself. We've been building out our files, if you will, now for, if not the better part of 6 months, probably a bit longer than that. And then as the EFC team, we're able to, leverage a bit of that as part of our file structure too. And so we've got a bit of a head start on that as we, gear up for our 22 audit here. So that's probably the biggest news from our perspective. When we think about the audit, in terms of some of the other aspects, it's not necessarily identified here, executive summary, but as I said, there aren't any new accounting standards that are applicable or expected to be material here for 22, so in some respects, it makes it a little bit of a quiet audit, knock on wood, from that perspective, which is a good thing overall. Single audit-wise, we expect that there will be the clean water program that will be the major program of focus here in 22. Drinking water was in the 21 audit. We usually the clean water is the one that has sort of do that for 2 years and then over to the drinking water program. So So that's on tap here for 22. And as I mentioned, no other significant changes, from a scoping perspective or audit regulation perspective, as well as from a new standard perspective. So that kind of gives you a flavor as to what's going to be happening here this year. In terms of our service team, there is a lot of similar faces in the boxes here. The one new face here, Kevin Patterson, it will be our senior running the show from a KPMG perspective. Although behind the scenes, Kevin worked on the 2021 single audit, so he was already a bit familiar with EFC. Tiffany and Amy, who are part of our subcontractor team, have both been on the account here for several years now, and really do help execute a lot of the procedures that we perform. And so that really does mean that we do have a pretty high degree of consistency in the team overall versus not only last year, but over the last few years. And then myself, Jeff, and some of the other people who participate on the audit are similar faces as well. So that's always very beneficial for sure in terms of one year to the next, efficiency and helping the audit quality. In terms of audit areas of focus, as always, we go through a risk assessment process at the outset of our audit to identify any changes or incremental concerns or audit risk areas. And as usual, as required by professional standards, the risk of management override is a significant risk in our audit and has been in the past. And as I said, under professional standards, it's expected that it's a significant risk, and therefore auditors are required to design procedures to respond to that risk, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 8 bullets there that we have listed, and there's actually probably a couple more that we also execute. So it goes without saying, this is an area that we do spend a bit of time, and as we've reported in the past, there haven't been any issues that we've identified, and I would expect that to be the case again this year when we report back to you at the end of the audit. In terms of other areas of audit focus, again, a lot of this is the bread and butter areas, and if you kind of did some math, all the areas that we're touching here cover substantially all of the balance sheet and income statement captions, statement of changes, captions across the financial statements, including disclosures between cash, investments, bonds, both in terms of current long-term interest, payables, as well as pension and the post-employment benefit plan, grant income and expenditures, and financial reporting. So all of the procedures here are fairly similar to our prior year audits. It is probably worth pointing out, as part of our kind of gearing up and planning process, we do cross-pollinate with other teams that audit similar entities, not only here in New York State, but more on here in the Northeast and more nationally as well, to make sure that we're have procedures that are consistent elsewhere, sharing know-how, etc. So the good news is there really aren't a lot of changes to the procedures that we'll be performing this year, after some of those planning activities. Certainly, if there's any significant changes as part of our procedures, we will communicate those to you as part of our year-end reporting, when we, not year-end, but our meeting with you when we complete the audit in June and report the financial, the audit results. So that really covers the areas of focus. In terms of, again, the single audit side, the audit of the federal awards, it will be the Clean Water Revolving Fund here. And again, There haven't been significant changes to that program from a compliance perspective in terms of the areas that need to be focused on. We'll be executing those procedures substantially alongside the field work for the financial statement audit, and we'll issue that report shortly thereafter. And then finally, the last couple slides in terms of the primary content, involvement of others. We are required as accountants to make sure that we involve our tax folks to make sure that there aren't any matters that are required. And obviously, as a public benefit corporation, it's generally not applicable. So that's usually a non-event. But actuarial specialists, we do certainly involve as part of evaluating the pension and the OPEB liability, as I mentioned a minute ago, making sure that the actuarial assumptions, models that are used are appropriate and consistent with what we would expect to see. In addition to, the core team's audit work, making sure that the data that's used is supportable and testing that. And then along those same lines, because pension and post-employment benefit is a little bit more of a kind of a nuanced technical area. We are kind of a firm has a requirement that we involve one of our government, post-employment pension specialists to make sure that the disclosures included in the financial statements are appropriate. And so again, we involve that partner, and it also happens to be our concurring review partner, Scott Wanetsky. So we're able to kind of kill two birds with one stone, if you will. But it is an incremental requirement. We also do, tap into our national office for as it relates to the single audit or what's referred to as the uniform guidance audit for the federal funds, to make sure that we are on top of any changes. There's been a lot of changes here over the last couple of years with COVID and updated compliance requirements and supplements that have come out. So making sure that we stay on top of that. And identify any changes as it relates to whether it's drinking water, clean water, or other programs is really critical. So we do certainly rely upon our national office resources. And then finally, we do utilize our central national pricing desk for the investments, making sure that the valuation is appropriate for financial reporting purposes. So there's a lot of folks that we use, and then last, as I mentioned before, from an MWBE participation, we have Team Avaloria and Long Island Financial Management Services that have worked on the audit now for all the years that I've been on the account here, and certainly before that. And as I said, a consistent team as last year, which again is certainly a big help. In terms of identifying issues and understanding the business, that makes it easier both on us and obviously for management when kind of fielding our audit questions and requests. It's helpful to have people who are familiar and know the business, the operations very well. So that really covers some of the major items. The following slides from here on out really, are just summary of some of the required communications here at the front end of the audit as it relates to approach and things of that nature. I'm in the interest of time, I won't go through all those other slides. They're here more so for your viewing pleasure in the materials. Certainly, we'll be touching upon a lot of these items when we return to report on the results of our audit here in June. So with that, I guess I'll pause to see if there's any questions. If there are no questions, I certainly yield the floor back to the committee.
Any questions?
I'll ask a question.
Yep.
On the risk assessment, significant risks, management override controls, right? So I'm guessing that things like double approvals of money going out and reconciliation accounts is part of that type of check.
That's exactly right. And in fact, you hit the nail on the head. For us, most times, those are the pardon me, the controls that we're looking at. There's oftentimes a lot of other controls that are, what we call contributory controls that, that are there that might not directly relate to that, but like once you kind of add them in, there's a number of checkpoints, but usually it really is a reconciliation, dual sign off, something that someone can't kind of own front end to ultimate reporting in the ledger itself. And that's what we're actually trying to test is we're trying to, all right, what are entries that appear higher risk? What's an entry that's recorded on a weekend, for example, when, most people wouldn't be recording entries on a weekend. What are the outliers? What are the items that stick out where someone might be doing something that is outside of, the normal course. But as you highlighted, from a control perspective, it tends to be some of those more routine controls, which, believe it or not, there's not so much here, but there are plenty of places where, especially during COVID, being able to have the rigor, in place to make sure that the control environment, kind of kept up what might have been a little bit more manual and paper-based had all of a sudden become more virtual. A lot of controls very easily could fall and slip through the cracks. And so, so there have been some folks who have had some bumps and bruises over the last couple of years, keeping that, their control environment up to snuff. Smaller, more nimble organizations, I think, tend to have made it through a little bit better than some of the ones that are maybe a little bit larger and, takes a little bit more energy to kind of change, as somewhat surprising as that might sound. Not to say that they, everyone had issues, but it took a little bit of an adjustment. Anyways, so that's certainly an area that we look at, the control, some of those activities as it relates to override and some of those routine controls in place that would prevent and detect it.
Thank you, Marty, for expanding on that.
Yeah, I'll just, I like the cross-pollination you mentioned. You guys, again, you see other, even talking before the meeting started about other states doing, a lot of the similar work that we're doing. And, and how often do we see it, the state and federal government's coming down with, new requirements, new things that we need to pay attention to. So it's good that you guys have that wide lens, and we'll benefit from that because, again, likely, there'll be more things to pay attention to, and you may see things before we see things, and how to deal with things. And the other thing I'll mention is just, again, before the meeting, we talked about it, staffing. That's another, we were talking about it here, where so much of this work, there's more funding for a lot of this work. We've all seen it where we work. Hard to keep good people, and very difficult to hire new people. And again, I always try to keep, and Vita the same, and I know Francis, we all try to keep an eye on, how EFC can just keep up with the workload and make sure that the staffing, here is what we need. And again, Jeff and Marty, let us know, because we're always trying to for the needs, the human resource needs here. And again, you guys see things maybe before we see things.
We will do that.
Thank you. Not really a question, but thanks for for what you guys do and the things that you are looking out for, and we look forward to again another good audit and for catching up later with what you find. Any
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions, comments? Are we good to go?
Let's kick it off.
Great. So we have nothing else that we need to do in this committee. So we really appreciate the, again, having KPMG with us and for what they are getting into. again for us. And so I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
Great.
simultaneously
second.
with Francis.
Thank you. Meeting is
It
adjourned.
said slight delay, Vito.
Great. Meeting is adjourned.
No.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll-
Thank
we'll-
Mike
Jade.
Roseman, can you confirm we are gonna
Okay, we're back on.
Great. Okay, we'll get started on the Thursday, April 7, meeting of the Board of Directors of the Environmental Facilities Corporation. It is 11:34. Kate, call the roll, please.
Mr. Stefanko.
Here.
Mr. Sokol.
Present.
Mr. Leary.
Present.
Mr. Corcoran.
Here.
Ms. DeMarquis.
Here.
And last but not least, Mr. Kazansky.
Here.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Zarowski is not with us today, but we do have a quorum of the board.
Great, all right, thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the draft minutes from the March 10 board meeting. Can I have a motion and a second, please? The only abstention would be Francis. Gives you a reminder on that.
Can make a motion to
Thank
approve.
you. Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Changes or anything? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Great.
Abstain.
Unanimous. Next item is the chair report. I have nothing to report other than thanking, we did have an audit committee meeting prior to this, thanking Jeff Moab and Marty Dunbar from KPMG. And Charlie will go into that in a little bit. But it's nice to be in the room again with everyone. So those on that, that's all I have.
I have just a couple of things with respect to the bipartisan infrastructure law. Not really a lot to report, except that we continue to have meetings more recently with EPA Region 2 to pin down some remaining implementation questions. And there still are some, both on our part and EPA. So we're waiting for some feedback from EPA, especially with respect to the Build America, Buy America, which we're hoping, I think we've got a call on the agenda for next week, thinking that we're going to get some information from them with EPA. But we will be going out because of the quick timing that's required. We're going out with an availability of funds in the next few weeks. We want to be in the position, New York, to get any reallocated funds because other states weren't able to move forward to use the money. So we need to have our application, our grant applications for all these pots of money approved by EPA by the end of the fiscal year, which requires we get in the applications in July. And in order to do that, we've got to go out and let folks know about the availability of funds very soon. So we're going to do that, and as soon as we can, get out information so that folks know what the pots of money are and what the federal requirements attached to those dollars are. So we're doing everything kind of at the same time, given the situation that we're put in. Yeah, we're doing the best we can. Second, I'll ask, Francis?
Hey, Madam. So do you have any sense on like the min max on dollar amounts that are potentially available?
Minimum and maximum per project? Or just generally on the
Well, no,
dollars
that in these pots that, yeah, just sort of generally, that might, if we got our hands on all of it, how much that might be, and if we, at a minimum, hoping to get kind of thing.
Well, we'll get our hands on New York's allocation. With respect to reallocations, if states don't use it,
Right.
we're hoping service lines. But the pots of money, and now I'm going to be, I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's 426 total
across the board
for both drinking water and clean water. And that's on top of our annual, grants. So we'll get our annual grants that we do. And then
Right.
What we're going out for the availability of funds is to capture the 2022 infrastructure dollars, which is the 426 million across clean water and drinking water, which is supplemental base funds, emerging contaminants funds, and lead service line funds. So it's a lot of money on top of, again, our annual.
Good. Thank you.
And then in 2023,
Our allocation. Yep.
yeah, we'll do our applications for our regular grant dollars and then 2023, infrastructure dollars. So a lot of money.
Right.
Coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and as soon as we have information, we've been reaching out, we spoke to, the mayor's NICOM, the other day, and we're gonna be reaching out to counties and, towns, Association of Towns, and talk to them as well about helping us get out to their members as soon as we can information, to help them know what the requirements are that are attached to these new federal dollars. Because there's a lot of grant dollars involved, but all of these dollars from the this new law have to comply with federal requirements, where our base funds, recycled the recycled funds don't have to comply with the federal requirements. So a lot of our municipalities are not used to complying with the full array of federal requirements, but everybody who's getting these federal dollars has to. So we'll be working with folks on what those requirements are. If they shouldn't be, too onerous, but for smaller municipalities who are the ones we really want to get to, or have had difficulty coming in, and that we really want to reach with the more dollars coming in, they're the ones that are also going to need to, have more help. There is a 2% technical assistance that we can also take off and use from these dollars, which is about $3.9 million. And we're talking about the best ways to utilize those funds to help communities maybe with capacity to be able to come in and apply for more engineering grants, maybe on the drinking water side. We have them on the clean water side or asset management program. So, 3.9 is a nice sum, but it's also, so we can't do everything we might want to do with those technical assistance dollars. So that's that. And we'll, when we have stuff that we are ready to share, we just want to make sure it's, it's like fully baked and we actually pin down EPM answers to some of these questions that are still kind of up in the air, and that they don't have the real answers to yet either. So we're working on that. And then any other questions on that? I mean, it's a great position to be in, to have all these dollars. It'd be even greater to be in the position where we knew all the facts before we had to go out with the availability of funds, but we're going to do the best we can so we can take
regardless, it translates into lots of infrastructure projects.
Yes, it does. So it's great. It is good news. And then for New York Water deal, we priced on Monday and Tuesday. So turn it over to Brian and he can give you an update on where we are.
Great, thanks, Maureen. As Maureen said, we started the pricing on Monday morning, and as we started, the market had a positive tone to it. On Monday, we received $508 million worth of retail orders, and included in that was $16 million worth of individual retail orders that we haven't really seen in the past 2 years because the interest rates were so low. MMD, which is the benchmark for the municipal markets, repriced or set their yields 2 basis points lower on the end of the day, Monday. So that helped us out also. However, that strong market did not carry over overnight until Tuesday. The 30-year Treasury on Tuesday morning was trading. The yield was up about 15 basis points as we went into our institutional order period. That being said, we were able to lower our yields on our bonds that we were offering in the institutional market by 2 to 6 basis points because we had such strong retail orders. So as the syndicate went out on Tuesday morning, we received just shy of $2 billion worth of orders on $420 million worth of bonds to sell. As you would imagine, this allowed us to lower our yields again, which is a great place to be, especially in a market that was moving away from us. As we offered our bonds for sale, the 30-year Treasury traded, the yields continued to increase by another 10 basis points during the day. And MMD adjusted their yields up 3 to 4 basis points throughout the whole curve. And we were able to bring our yields down because of the strong orders that we had. After we adjusted our orders and the weaker market, approximately $580 million worth of orders dropped. They went away from us because they said they went to other deals, or they just said it wasn't worth their participation. But when we had $2 billion worth of orders, we were okay. All of our bonds were still sold. At the end of the day, we have a TIC 3.231%, and we saved $11.5 million for the refunded bonds, which were series 2012A and 2012D. If you remember, when we came to the Finance Committee, that estimate was at $18 million. So as you can see, the markets are trading a lot higher in yield. That being said, we are still in the lower 25th percentile in history for yields. So as they are rising, but we're still very low. We are looking to close this. We're scheduled to close this on April 21st. And, I just wanted to thank, the entire EFC staff. Everybody's been working on this, and we continue to work on this until closing and thereafter. Any questions?
Thanks, Brian. All set, Maureen?
Oh, yes, and that's it. Sorry. Thanks, Brian.
All right, yeah. Okay, we did have committee, audit committee met at 11. Charlie is the chair, and he did receive a presentation. Charlie, do you have anything you want to add?
Just very briefly, we approved the minutes from the December 2021 meeting, and we heard a good presentation by KPMG, Marty and Jeff, about the plan of work they have to do the annual audit for us. And again, we discussed it. Nothing significant that was brought up about changes in the landscape, so it really looked like another good work product that they're going to dig into, and we're looking forward to having them tell us how it all goes and report back in June.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions, comments? Excellent. There is no unfinished business on the agenda unless anyone wants to share anything. We will move into the resolutions. All right, Kate, go fire away.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation making certain determinations and authorizing certain actions in connection with the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and authorizing financial assistance payments to certain municipalities to fund eligible drinking water projects from funds appropriated for water infrastructure improvement projects.
Thank you. Could I have a motion in a second? James, thank you. So I'll count that as a second. Thank you on that. David with the presentation. What?
Hey, hello everyone. There are 5 drinking water projects before the board today. The first one is for the Village of Florida in Orange County. Project is seeking a WIA grant along with short-term market rate DWSRF financing. This project is for improvements to their existing water treatment plant, including replacement of the filter units, upgrades to the chemical feed systems, controls, and sludge handling systems, as well as structural upgrades to the building itself. And this project will address violations or exceedances of disinfection byproduct, MCLs. Next one is for the Village of Fort Edward in Washington County. This is seeking a WIA grant along with short-term market rate financing through the DWSRF. This project includes replacement of approximately 7,600 linear feet of aged water main. Also will replace their existing 200,000 gallon storage tank, as well as booster pump station upgrades. So the project will address several deficiencies, including reduction in flow and pressure due to the aged water mains, which are small in diameter and have corrosion issues. It'll address the failure of the coating system, both on the interior and exterior of their storage tank, and it will provide redundancy to the pump station in the form of additional pumps and backup systems for the electrical at the pump station. The next one is for the village of Hobart in Delaware County. This is a DWSRF hardship project, so it's receiving hardship grant and hardship interest-free loan. The project is for new wells to replace existing wells that have had lost production capacity. It includes also upgrades to their existing treatment plant, which is for removal of iron and manganese. And that includes replacement of the filter media, as well as replacement of filter pumps and replacement of process piping within the treatment plant. Next one is for the Manhasset Lakeville Water District in Nassau County. They're seeking an EC WIA grant. This is for a new AOP and GAC systems to remove 1,4-dioxane and PFOA from their existing wells number 1 and 2 at the Searingtown Road treatment plant number 1. And the last project is for the New York City Municipal Water Finance Authority. This is for short-term market rate financing for phase 15 of the Croton water filtration plant. The Croton plant was constructed, construction completion was in June 2016. It's a 290 million gallon per day filtration plant that treats water from the Croton water supply, which was necessary to address a surface water treatment rule violation. And that plant, under normal conditions, supplies approximately 10% of the city's capacity. That's all the projects. Any questions?
Great. Thanks, David. So there's nothing further? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. Resolution number 2.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation making certain determinations and authorizing certain actions in connection with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and authorizing financial assistance payments to certain municipalities to fund eligible clean water projects from funds appropriated for water infrastructure improvement projects.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Charlie. How about a second? Roger, thank you, Annette. Bill Brazell with the presentation.
Bill, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. I saw him on earlier.
Is this Bill?
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Double mute.
Very good. Good morning, everyone. Today we have 4 clean water projects before the board for new financings. All of them are hardship projects. First, we have the town of Constantia in Oswego County. This is a 5-year short-term financing. Includes $15.4 million short-term interest refinancing, a $15.6 million short-term market rate financing that will refinance grants and loans to be received by the town from other sources, and a $5 million WIA grant that was awarded in 2019. This project will construct a new sewer district in the town of Constantia. The town's been working on this project for many years, and the project includes 130,000 linear feet of low pressure sewer main, approximately 900 grinder pumps, and will remove approximately 900 existing septic systems from service. These septic systems have been identified as having a negative impact on Oneida Lake, primarily from nutrients. The flow from this new sewer district will be treated at the Village of Cleveland's wastewater treatment plant, which will be expanded to, which will be expanded to receive the flow from Constantia. Construction of the treatment plant expansion will begin later this summer, and construction of the collection system will begin in 2023. Constantia. Next, we have the village of Fishkill in Dutchess County. Fishkill is also a 5-year short-term interest-free financing, $17,375,000, and also a $4.125 million WIA grant. Village is undertaking improvements at their wastewater treatment plant and also expanding the treatment plant's capacity. Currently, the village treats approximately 55% of the wastewater from the village at the wastewater treatment plant. The remainder goes to the city of Beacon for treatment. With this expansion, the village will be able to treat approximately 90% of their own wastewater, which will provide a financial savings to the village. Construction began last year and is expected to be completed by the end of 2023. That's Fishkill. Next, the village of Lowville in Lewis County. The village is requesting approximately $2.8 million short-term interest-free financing and just over $5 million in short-term market rate financing to pre-finance grants from other sources. We're also seeking authorization for some remaining 2015 and 2018 WIA grants that were awarded to a previous phase of this Lowville project. Lowville has a 2 million gallon per day wastewater treatment plant, consists of 2 aerated lagoons. This project will replace the liners in those lagoons and replace the existing blowers in the lagoons with new high-speed blowers, new phosphorus chemical feed system, and some other miscellaneous improvements around the plant. Construction began in 2021 and is expected to be completed this fall. Finally, we have the city of Rome. This is a long-term financing for the city of Rome in Oneida County, $160,300 long-term interest-free financing. This project was for the expansion and rehabilitation of their anaerobic digester system at the treatment plant. And they also installed a combined heat and power system to generate electricity and use the waste heat from the turbines to heat the digester. Also note that this project included a $2 million GIGP grant to aid with the digesters. Project was completed in late 2021. Those are the 4 projects. Are there any questions?
I'll just maybe just note, thanks for the additional information on the digester, that it results in benefits, it's sort of breaking down solvents and other contaminants that, before they end up in the water. That's great. So it's really good to see that kind of a project. And also thanks for the information on the smart growth, a test that you guys put things through with the substantial one. So again, just thanks for the additional information.
Great. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous?
Aye.
Thank you, Vita. We don't have any new business. Is there anything anyone would like to address before we adjourn? Outstanding. Do I have a
Good to
motion?
see y'all in a room without the mask.
Yeah.
That's what we're.
Motion.
Francis. Thank you, Francis. Another second, please. Roger. Roger, we need a double second. Okay, all those in favor? For adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Our
Aye.
next meeting will be Thursday, May 12th, 11:30. We are adjourned.